Hello Transnetters, and welcome to Lentswe, the voice of Transnet, where we bring you real stories, real voices, and meaningful conversations from across the organization. I'm your host, Mrs. Mtwa, and today's episode is a special one as we celebrate Women's Month. Our theme this year is She Leads, voices of power, progress, and purpose. And who better to speak to than someone who truly embodies all three? Somebody remarkable, truly. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome our Group Chief Executive of Transnet, Advocate Michelle Phillips. Madam, Michelle, welcome to Lentswe. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Busi. Thanks for having me. And I suppose hello to all the Transnetters out there as well.
Of course. We appreciate you being here. We just wanted to let you know it's been a long time coming. And I'm sure everybody will be very happy to see you on their screens. Let's not waste any time and get straight into the juicy story, hopefully, that we're here for today. Let's go back to the beginning. Who was Michelle Phillips as a young girl? What were your dreams and aspirations? And did you ever think that you'd become GCE one day of Transnet?
Sure. So, you guys must forgive me, but Michelle Phillips was a young girl, was a very naughty girl. I gave my mother such a hard time. I was a very difficult child. I was very naughty. I was fighting with everybody. I was absolutely running amok as a young child. I had a nickname. They used to call me Miss Hell. That's how naughty I was. But I had academically, I had an academic ability. I think that my parents and my siblings were, what's with this child kind of thing. So very early on, I think there were teachers at school who maybe recognized that. But over the years, I think there was a lot of, let me call it, calming influences. I sort of grew into myself because I had to realize that it's not about being naughty. It's not going to get you very far, So yeah, it was a tough life, I have to say. Dreams and aspirations, I was very clear where I wanted to be. So, I think I was in standard 1 in my 50s. So we talk about standards, right? I was in standard 1 when my Afrikaans teacher asked the class, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my response was, ek wil 'n prokureur wees. So I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And since I've never changed, it's always been my dream. I wanted to be a lawyer. It's all really that I wanted to be. GCE of Transnet was never in my ambition. It was never one of my ambitions. It was never what I wanted to be. But I think when you are in Transnet, you begin to realize where you make a difference. And you oftentimes find yourself having to step up when the need arises. So I only really started thinking about being a GCE. I think, when it was raised with me, I had started acting here and there while I was a chief executive of TPL. But I can tell you, I've never even wanted to be a chief executive. I'm the kind of person who, I solve problems, right? I'm a problem solver. I've always wanted to be the person who whispers in the boss's ear. So I've always wanted to be the one who whispers in the chief executive's ear, but the chief executive must listen. And I've wanted to be the person who whispers in the GCE's ear and hope that they hear me, I want to be the person who whispers in the president's ear and hope that the presidents hear me. But, life has its ways of throwing you a curveball and then things happen. And now here I am. It's been a long, difficult journey. But by far, I think the positives have outweighed anything that I've had to go through to get here.
Sure. That was quite the answer. Deep, rich, full. And I want to go back to a very specific point in time that resonates with me mostly. When you were naughty, I was also Oof, I was also a problem. So that really resonates with me. And here you are, sitting here. And here I am sitting with you. And we've both had that past. As women, we don't really get much time or much of a chance to misbehave. It very quickly goes down a very strange path. So I'm very glad that at least you got out of that and now you're here.
Yeah, and I mean, fortunately, it happened very early because I had very strict parents and very religious parents. So I think, as a child, you want to, I suppose, rebel. I mean, I didn't do anything like, way out. I was just very naughty. I would find all sorts of things to do, that would mischievous. I was mischievous. But very early on I had to realize that this is not going to get you very far. So
I appreciate that. I mean, just throwing out nuggets of gold to the younger ones as well, because they're going through that stage now. So I think it's very important that they hear that you can grow out of that and actually make something out of yourself. You have to, definitely. So moving on to the fact that this month is Women's Month. And the podcast theme is, once again, She Leads, Voices of Power, Progress, and Purpose. What do these three words mean to you personally?
For me, I look at it as, firstly, I have to say purpose is like, if you don't know your purpose, start working on determining what that is, right? Power, sometimes positive or negative. And I think everything, you must be mindful and you balance when you look at these things. Progress, of course, we all want to progress. We all understand that that's important. I had to very early on realize that I needed to get out of circumstances in which I found myself that needed a level of conviction. And that's really where I found my power, is to be very firm about who and what I wanted to be. So I needed that level of conviction, that level of what I would do, and to be very firm about my values and my morals, which of course enabled, I believe, certainly my progress. And then, of course, when it comes to purpose, I'm very firm about why I believe God put me on the earth. So, and interestingly enough, it is in this organization that I discovered my purpose. So we all need to do that, because you'll find yourself very, very unhappy, no matter where you are, if you are doing it without knowing what that purpose is.
Sure. And, thank you very much for that. I'm thinking of what you just said now about power and leadership. As a woman, when you are in these very high level positions, things do get a bit awkward sometimes. You tend to be looked down upon. You tend to be seen as less qualified sometimes, right? So how do you, navigate those spaces, and what decisions have you made that have been very tough, that you just felt, look, I have to, at the risk of whatever it is that you were risking at that time? How did you navigate those situations and those decisions, and how do you suggest that other people do that as well?
I think, again, it comes down to why we are here. It comes down to purpose, but it's your moral compass. I've had some very difficult, in fact, in these senior positions, you have to always be mindful of where you are going, but what's important. I don't compromise on what is right. I don't compromise on truth, and I don't compromise on integrity. And I'm very firm about my pride in myself and in how I do things. So, and I've been in a few very difficult situations. But, if I can, mention maybe one, having to dismiss somebody who you had so much belief in is a difficult one. But unfortunately, as much as you want to save everyone, you have to do the right thing. Because I always say, just as I say somebody up there loves me, I also know that somebody up there is always watching. So I'm very, very firm about not compromising on doing the right thing, even if it means that those who are close to you may decide that they no longer want to be close to you. And it's a very tough decision. But when you have, particularly in Transnet, you've got 50,000 people looking at you, you can't compromise. People will emulate their leaders. And if they see that their leaders are doing the wrong thing, we cannot be, questioning why people are going in a particular direction. The tone is set at the top. And, me being in this position, I have to be very clear and unambiguous about doing the right thing.
You're speaking about purpose and values and how that ties into your leadership style. And it has become very clear from everything that you've said that there is an immense amount of responsibility. And it seems that the higher you go, the more you're called to serve, So how do you stay grounded and remain connected to your core values and purpose while leading such a large and complex organization?
Let me tell you that sometimes it is a very lonely job. It's a very lonely position sometimes to be in, and you have to always remind yourself. I as much as one wants to, move away from the past and move forward, I use my past to remind me of what I would never want to go back to. And I use that past to also remind me of what could happen if I stray. But my past keeps me and keeps my feet on the ground firmly. Because like I said, I don't want to look back. The only reason I will look back is for lessons, right? My childhood and my, the way I grew up, I say to myself that, yes, my parents have taught me very firm values and things, and that has, kept me where I am, and that has kept me grounded. But I say to myself that, it's the kind of things I want my kids to see. I want, the rest of my family to be able to also see. So I can never forget where I come from. And, those reminders, I think, helps to keep my feet on the ground. And, it's a life that you say to yourself, just do the best that you can. But, I can't be something that I'm not. So I can't, even though I'm the GCE of Transnet, I can't now become a different Michelle Phillips. It is the Michelle Phillips that I know that has brought me here. And, she reminds me often that, not that way, this way. That's not how you do things. You don't think like that. So, I'm grounded in that way. But also, like I said, I come from quite a religious family. My parents, we pray all the time. So, I come from a praying family. I try to be a praying woman. So I surrender everything. Yet I make big business decisions. It's an interesting one. But I think that's those things, that the fact that I have this compass, and I'm very firm and I'm clear, those are the things that keep my feet on the ground. I'll continue to reach for the stars, but it's not like, if I don't get to a certain point, that all is lost. I'm very grateful for where I am and for what I've become.
I'm very happy to hear that you're still reaching for the stars. People tend to just stop. They just like become content.
Well, reaching for the stars, it's like always trying to be better on a day-by-day basis. For me, it's not so much about being the most important person in the room or being the most powerful person in the room. It's not, those things are not valuable to me. It's purely about being a better person every day as I'm moving through life. And therefore, it's really reaching for the stars.
We appreciate that. I mean, those are very, very wise words. It would help if I think people listen to that and take it in stride and keep going in that direction. Because to have someone of your stature still speaking in this way says quite a bit about, the person steering the ship that is this massive organization and where we're hoping to go and what kind of person she is. It's very important for people to know. And then when we talk about women empowerment in the workplace, every leader stands on the shoulders of others. Is there a woman in your life, past, present, who deeply influenced your path to leadership? And what lessons did she teach you?
I suppose there's a few, I had a very strong grandmother, very strong mother. So I think through the generations, like I said, difficult life. But, my mother didn't glamorize her poverty. She was very firm that, and my father, that no matter what they've gone through, at least their children need to live better lives, right? So, I did not find myself wanting to remain where I was. I knew that I needed to get out. That's the one thing. Then, and my mother used to always say, and I use this all the time with my kids, respect goes a long way. So I am deeply respectful of people. Doesn't matter who they are. You'll find I'll go into the trenches and I'll speak to people and it wouldn't make a difference. They wouldn't even know sometimes that I'm the GCE. I walk around in these operations and if you don't recognize me because you've seen me somewhere, you're going to think I'm just one of everyone else. So I try to walk with people and amongst them. And then I've got a very, my best friend, who has taught me that never give up. And through difficulty that she went through when we were at school, she taught me that, like I said, you can still achieve your dreams, And then I've had some very good teachers, both male and female, but I suppose on the woman's side, I've had women who used to protect me because school was difficult for me as well. Who would protect me and who would look after me, who would feed me. And who always whispered in my ear that I could do good things and I could do great things. And I think it's those teachers that I'm very grateful for. I used to go after school to one of the two of these teachers' houses, and they would look after me and just have me sit there and be with them. I've got some very special women in my life that I'm very grateful for. My elder sister now, my sister is one of those who's very hardworking. Has a very good work ethic, will, be up all night doing what she's doing to look after her family. And, that's instilled certain things in me as well.
So you spoke about all of these women that are in your everyday life. Typically you expect an answer like one of the big names,
No.
Yeah, thank you.
Look, I mean, you mustn't look too far. We all read, right? We all have these people that we look up to. But you'll be surprised at how close these very special women are. You have to surround yourself with as many of them as possible. and try to learn from as many of them as possible. And I mean, for me, that's, what has worked for me. I like to touch and feel, it's real. I can't be focusing on somebody whom I've read of in a book. It's good, but I want to see things, I want to see it real in my life. I need people who are impactful in my life. So I can't look too far. I'm not that, I'm engaged.
Yes.
So.
I was so happy to hear that, because I think of the women that I look up to, and it's definitely my grandmother and my mother as well. So, this coexistence of this of the matriarchy within the patriarchy, those relationships are very important, just down the matriarchal line of the family. So I'm very happy to hear that. I mean, I'm not the only one having that experience. And, there's so many valuable things that they teach you that inspire me how I move as well. To this day, I always say my grandmother she was something else, but this is,
I can tell you my grandmother was something else.
No, true. Those grandmothers, I can't wait to be one, actually. But anyway, I also want.
No, I can wait.
You can. You're not ready yet. You're still reaching for the stars.
Yeah,
so
really.
Let's give you time. So breaking barriers in industries like logistics and engineering is no small feat. What advice would you offer to the next generation of young women navigating male-dominated fields?
Yeah. This thing about male-dominated fields is an interesting one, right? I always say to everybody I have quite a few people who say to me, who ask me to, mentor or help them in terms of their development and, what they must. And I always say, do not box yourself. Now, immediately when you put yourself with this paradigm that I'm in a male-dominated, right? For whatever reason, many women now consider themselves less. And I can't work that way. The environment is the environment. What you find in that environment is what you need to deal with, right? So if you find yourself in an environment that is majority male, I say just do the work, right? Do the work. As women, not only are we able to multitask, we all know that, everybody talks about that. Why do they talk about it? Because it's real and it's true, right? We can multitask. We are fast. When the man is still thinking about it, we are already executing, okay? So we are fast, right? We have our feet on the ground, okay? We juggle so many balls. We know that there are these things that we need to do. We're probably the best planners, but we're also probably the best executioners. So just do the work, focus on doing the work. Put whatever you need to do into what you need to do and get the job done. The rest will follow. If by you doing what you need to do, you are progressing faster than the men, so be it. But if you're going to keep your eye on this guy that's here at the back or trying to, move forward, it's going to be distracting you. It's like an athlete. I don't know if you watch the Comrades Marathon, right?
Yes.
We've just had the Comrades Marathon, right? And every time you see, even the guy who won, right? He kept looking behind him to see how far the second runner is, right? And he probably lost time in doing that. Just go. Move on. Don't be distracted by the noise. And I'm not saying men are noise because we need them. Right? We need them. But, we must not be operating under this paradigm that there are all these men that I always have to compete with. Sort yourself out, right? Build yourself up and do the job.
There we go.
You will see what will follow.
100%. So to just sum it up, self-confidence, self-esteem, and not worrying about what people have to say about you, not operating from this victim mentality place,
You do you, once you've established what your purpose is and what it is that you need to do, then you go for it. What you need to be mindful of is, one, don't trample on anybody as you move. Don't push people out of the way, right? We don't want blood on the floor. We just want you a better person, right? Because through it all, you're going to have to look yourself in the mirror, right? So you focus on doing the right thing and you do you.
You know, my English teacher back in the days would always say, you know, you do all these nonsense things during the day, but at 10 p.m. when you're all alone sitting in that bath, all of these things are going to hit you. So it's be very careful about, you know, burning bridges, as it were.
Yep. Do the work.
And let the rest.
Do the work.
Yeah.
Everything else will follow. Be kind whilst you're doing it, and be respectful of other people whilst you're doing it.
And that
you will see.
True. So we often talk about representation. And here you are, madam, the greatest representation. Why is it so important to have women in executive roles? And how does that impact the company culture and decision making?
Well, again, I suppose for the same reasons that I've mentioned, you know. Women, I'm always going to, firstly, I'm always going to believe my women and their stories and what they tell me. And like I said, for the reasons I mentioned, women are, people talk about a woman's touch. We are instinct, you know, we've got instinct. Okay, the guys are going to be upset with me, but it is what it is, right? I can't deny who and what I am. So we have instinct, you know. We've got that, what is it, gravitas, you know. We know, we go for something once we have set our sights on it. And women work. You know, we know that we, those days where we used to depend on the man to go and do the thing and come home, those days are over, you know. We increasingly, we've become the breadwinners in our families. So, you know, we know what it is to build our families, to build the nation, to grow them. So, you know, having women around, it's like, you have this a group of people who we go through the same things. We understand the difficulties. We know that we have to work for the most part harder than the men. So there's that common, I suppose, way of thinking. And we know how to solve problems, you know, and we can, I think we're more comfortable to rely on each other. So I mean, women, what are we now, 54% of the population? You know, so we need to step up and take our rightful place.
No, definitely. I mean, and thank you for echoing that we deserve to be in these spaces just by your presence, you know.
Oh, no, you don't even question it.
Yeah, you don't even need to have an entire conversation about it. Just you being there and knowing that there's a Michelle Phillips who is the GCE of Transnet, and she's a woman, you know what I mean? It's enough to sometimes just inspire someone or remove that notion that women don't deserve, rather, to be in these spaces. But you've spoken now about, you know, being the breadwinner. I want to touch on that a little bit. So you are now the breadwinner at home. You are the head at home and at work as well. When do you get time to rest?
Well, I don't know if I'm the head at home because I'm very happily married. I'm very happily married. So I think my husband maybe allows me, right?
There we go.
But yeah, look, I'm very happily married. And I have 2 adult kids now, a boy and a girl. And, you know, I try and, my brain doesn't allow me to focus on small stuff. And my kids and my husband and my families, they get that now. So, they come to me with big problems. Everything else they will sort out and they will deal with. You know, if there's something big, then, you know, I get in there across the board and I try to solve. But, yes, increasingly, it's on our shoulders. And you know what? We go out and we get the job done. It is what it is. But it's tough. But like I say, you pray every day. You're on your knees. You surrender. And you say, I say, come, Jesus, come. I'm going forward. And that's it. There we go. But it's by no means, it's tough. It's not easy. You don't get time for everything. You want to make time for everything, but it's not possible. I have not discovered the secret of work-life balance.
Okay.
And anybody who says to me they have discovered that, they can come and share those lessons with me. I have not discovered that. My family knows that I haven't discovered that. I find myself working most of the time. But I have a very good husband who has allowed me to sacrifice for himself and allowed me to be able to push forward. And I'm very appreciative of that, So it's allowed me to be able to do the things that under normal circumstances I would not have been able to do. If, the kids need to be sorted out at school, I have a supportive husband who was able to do that, knowing that I would be in a boardroom somewhere. And if I didn't have that, I can tell you, this would not have been possible.
There we go. Having a firm foundation is very important. Yep. Just having a well-rounded life in general. All right. So moving on to Reinvent for Growth.
Yeah.
4G.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What was the thought process behind it? Where are you hoping Transnet would go with this strategy? And how do women play a role in that?
So, R4G is exciting, right? Very exciting. I think, R4G comes from acknowledging, once we had, let's call it a diagnosis of this business and where this business was, acknowledging where we were at, realizing that something needed to be done very quickly, but also realizing that we cannot continue to be the same and that we would need to reinvent ourselves, right? Transnet cannot be what it was yesterday, 18 months ago, 5 years ago. Cannot. We have to turn this business upside down, okay? The world has changed. Geopolitically, things have changed, okay? This business is loss-making. Now, you can sit and you can say, oh no, we're going to stay as we are, and then you continue on that trajectory of losses, or you decide fundamentally, let's change this, right? This ship needs to go in a different direction, right? So we started off with saying, okay, 3 pillars. Or let's call it, how are we going to approach this thing in 3 ways? 1, fix immediately, right? Fix and optimize this business. We can't continue to be going on the downward trajectory. We need to stabilize the business, and we need to get, our customers are watching us, the country is watching us. We can't continue with the bleeding. Fix and optimize, right? Focus on the tactical, focus on the operations, focus on the operations efficiencies, getting the volumes in the right direction, steering the ship now, in a more stable direction. So that was the first part. Then then the thinking was, okay, so if we get that right, what does that mean, right? We're also clear, well, you can't be doing all of that work and then you stay the same. What's going to happen to you, right? So we need to change now the way we do business, right? So understanding what we are good at, what are those strengths that we want to exploit, what are those things that we maybe do not want to be anymore, want to get rid of, and how do we then transform the business? How do we transform the culture of the business? People in Transnet have been very comfortable, right? Because we think that, we will be looked after. We're a state-owned enterprise. Government is going to support us whenever they can. No, those things are not happening. We have to save ourselves, right? So we have to transform the way we do business. We have to start focusing on the stuff that actually makes money, right? And put everything in that and make it work. And we have to get our people along with us so that they can enjoy the journey. Then, of course, you can't just transform for the sake of transforming, right? You want to enable the growth of not only the organization and of the country, you want to grow this business. So we want to become bigger than what we are. Everybody thinks that when we talk about private sector participation, when we talk about private sector access to the network, that we are going to be shrinking, right? They talk about these concessions, they think that Transnet is going to be shrinking. My view has always been do the work, right? We fix our operations, we transform the way we do business, and we not only enable growth, but we grow, right? And those are really the three areas, right, that we need to focus on. We need this business to be stronger. We need this business to be better. We need it to be faster. You know, we can't be taking our time when we have to make important decisions. So this is a system, and everybody needs to do their bit. Let's do all of that so that we can, facilitate the transformation and the growth of the business. And that's really what 3-4G is about, right? Now, what role can women play? Oh my goodness, when I started in this organization in 1999, and I asked them, so what are the possibilities in Transnet? They said the possibilities are endless. That's my message. The possibilities are endless, right? Here you have, I'm here, came up through the ranks in this organization, and now I'm the GCE, okay? I mean, I look at some of the women in the organization, highly qualified. You understand? They can do this thing, Put in the work. Let's do the work, and you'll be, when you get to where you can be, you're going to sit back and you say, oh my goodness, I was part of that. We are part of a group of people, we must not take this lightly, who are able to change an organization that is as big and complex, as you said, as Transnet, and put her on a trajectory that will allow generations to come to still be part of this organization. And we must not take that responsibility lightly. As women, we know that we have the ability to plan, execute, and push this organization forward to where we need it to be. And women must not think that they need to be in the background. You're going to need to step up, and you're going to need to, be clear about what it is that you want to do in this place, because we're not going to be waiting now, we need to push forward. We need to transform. They say that if the rate of change outside of your organization is faster than the rate of change inside the organization, you will die. The demise of your organization is imminent. So we need to move, and we need to move with speed.
So you spoke about, the organization dying if the rate of change outside is faster than the rate of change inside the organization. And everything that you've said is 100% true. There's been a lot of comfort. Outside we jokingly said that Transnet is a retirement village. So people would ask me, why are you so young and you're still at Transnet? And I'm like, well, what was I supposed to do? And you mentioned that you started here in 1999. That's almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, there we go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, there was a point where the question was asked, when are you leaving? And I can tell you my response to that, or are you leaving? And my response to the question was, I still have a lot to do. Yeah, we can't all leave. I have a contribution to make, and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm still here. It's not because I love what I do. I love what I do. And like I said, I'm not, I've always said that the day that I feel that my spirit clashes with that of the organization, I will leave. Yes, there was a point where I felt that I was there, right? And then I said to myself, but if everybody is thinking like you and they leave, what are we doing to this asset that can be there for generations to come? That is why I stayed, because I still believe that I had a contribution to make, and I stayed in Transnet. And now it's 26 years. My plan was to be here for 4 years.
4 became 26.
4 became 26.
All right. I don't know if we'll still find many use people who stay at an organization for 26 years, but Transnet being Transnet with just the scale of operations and literally being the backbone of the South African economy, people don't seem to understand how serious the amount of weight that Transnet has in terms of contributing to economic growth.
Yep.
You know, so the success of this organization is sort of kind of the success of the country.
Absolutely. You know, we talk about if Transnet fails, the country fails, right? And for me, that's the kind of, I want the people who are here to be so focused on saving this organization that they will do whatever they need to do in their little areas, right? Their own function, their own jobs, whatever they do, that they will push to do it the best that they can. And then they will whisper in the ears of the people around them to make sure that everyone else does that. You can create that critical mass so that everybody is, we say in law, ad idem about the purpose. Why are we here, right? When I talk to you about my purpose, I say, people in Transnet, we are here. I talk about touching the lives of ordinary South Africans, right? How do we do that? If we don't function, the economy doesn't grow, people don't have jobs, which means people stay poor and in poverty. That's not why we're here. Our jobs is to pull people out of poverty, right? We have to do what we need to do so that more people can get jobs, more children can go to school, right? And more, and we don't have so many people that are living in poverty. That's why we're here. That's the purpose, right? So how do you do that? You have to be more productive. Why? Because if you're not productive, you delay the train or you delay a vessel. The longer it takes for that product to get to where it needs to be, the cost of that delay gets added to the product. So when you go buy water, and if you've taken your time to get that out of the port or out of wherever it is, or minerals or whatever, if you take too long, we pay, right? It hits you in the pocket. So people in transit must not think that our actions does not impact the cost of the goods that we pay for when we go and buy them. It does. So we have to make sure that whatever we do it at the best level possible, the most optimal level, right? So that everything can get cheaper. That's it. We are in the papers often for the wrong reasons because other companies are saying Transnet has caused me to retrench so many workers, right? Those are our brothers and our sisters who are now going to be without jobs. We have to think about those. So we must do what we need to do to ensure that we don't contribute to the unemployment level in the country. The more the unemployment level goes up, the more crime is going to increase, and the more poor people we will have in this country. And you cannot be part of an organization like Transnet and think that that is okay.
100%. And, I'm just thinking to myself as well, now that you're also mentioning all these other aspects that I had not maybe even thought about, that actually Transnet's role within the country itself is actually it's much bigger than I thought. And Transnet might just be too big to fail. Yeah.
It's big. It's not too big to fail. This is the challenge that people need to realize. Look at where we are, right? Look at where we are. We were failing. Now we need to make sure that we get ourselves back to where we need to be so that we can really play that meaningful role in this economy, Because I can tell you now, every one of us, wherever we are in our little areas, I say each one bring one. No? So if I can talk to you in your ear and I can convince you to do the right thing, and you go and convince someone else to do the right thing, for this country, we will be, I can tell you, on top of the world, right? We know the resilience that South Africans have. We've been through so many difficult times and we've survived, right? We get this right in Transnet. You know, this organization will be here for generations to come.
And it has to be here. It really has to be here because
I just want to be part of the legacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to be part of the legacy. I don't necessarily want to be the face of it. I don't want to be the face of anything. You know, that's why you find it so difficult to get me for interviews and stuff. I just want to be part of that legacy. In whatever way, I want to be part of that legacy. The things that we are doing now is legacy making stuff. If we can succeed in creating jobs in this economy, right? And we keep this organization going, it's history making, man. It's legacy making. It's a good place to be.
You know, you've just answered the last question that I had for you. What do you want to be your legacy? You just answered it. So I guess you preemptively, you know, I don't know, maybe we're on the same wavelength, maybe not. You know.
I want people to enjoy coming to work because they know why.
Very important.
They know why. If you know why you are here, right, it's going to work out. You'll be fine. If you start questioning and you, oh my goodness, well, what am I doing? And, you know, or you're not working, oh, you're going to be in trouble, right? I want people to firstly, you know, love what they're doing, be loyal to the organization, do the right thing, right? And we work to make this organization a better place.
You know, in closing, we had a nice little speech going on here, but I don't think it will be necessary. You have come on this podcast and you have spilled your heart out, which is something that people were very hungry for. And I pray that this will be enough because, madam, the media is talking about you. I was at one of these events and a very important person said, you're a very important person and you're here to fix, you know, the country through Transnet. And that's why I kept going on about Transnet's importance to the country. So thank you very, very much for your time. And thank you for your service mostly. And we hope that your legacy is something that you will look back on and say, I was there, I did that during such a transformative time. So I would like to hand over to you if you have any last words.
Look, I think for me, I pray, and I pray that people pray for me, and that they hold me up in, you know, wherever they are, that they hold me up. Like I say, that they present me and put me forward and say, please be with her. Because like I said, this is very difficult. It's not easy. But I believe in Transnet and I believe in the Transneters. And I know that every day somebody is saying a prayer for me and somebody is saying, let's do this. Right? And the more we have of that, the more certain I am that we are going to get this organization to where we need it to be. Men and women, all of us. There are very good people in this organization. What we need to do is make sure that we don't allow any obstacles or anybody to stand in our way of making sure that this asset actually delivers to this country what it is intended to offer to this country.
I don't think there's anything else to add to that. That was a beautiful closing speech. And to everyone listening, thank you for being part of this special episode. Keep celebrating and uplifting the incredible women of Transnet. One of them came to join us here today. We're so grateful. I'm Busisi Mtwa. This is Lentswe, the voice of Transnet. Thank you.